but first, the hot topic of the hour. The Department of Justice is digging into the allegations that the former administration and Biden's DOJ tracked the private communications of Republican senators and congressmen during the January 6th investigation. Senate Republicans referring former special counsel Jack Smith to the DOJ for possible misconduct for allegedly tracking the phone calls that day and tracking phone calls of 8 senators and 1 congressman. I spoke with President Trump about it yesterday.
We've got reports that Congress collected 30 million lines of phone data during the January 6th investigation. They tapped the phones of 8 sitting lawmakers. What can you do to prevent this kind of surveillance, and how high up the chain did this go?
I think it went right up to the top, and I think it started with Obama, with Comey going up and giving me a briefing in 2016, 2015, the end of 2015 and 2016. And then I said to him, who knows about this? He said, President Obama, his wife, and Joe Biden. They sat in the Oval Office talking about it. But it went all the way through. Obama was involved. Biden was involved, everybody. And then they got this guy, deranged Jack Smith, a lunatic. And they put him in because he was the meanest prosecutor you could find. He was sort of a failed prosecutor because he failed he'd failed because he'd always go too far. And now he really went too far. And we'll see. But you had 8 senators and I guess a couple of congressmen and some other people. But you had, maybe worse than that, you had a House raided of the ex-president of the United States, who actually won the second election by a lot.
Were they looking for that report on Russia collusion?
I heard that they were looking because they thought there was a report bad about them. They thought I had it, which I didn't have. I didn't have anything of any merit. But they were looking, and I also had the Presidential Records Act. You know, I had the right to have all this stuff. I had that right to have it. Only the president has that right. The vice president doesn't have that right, but the president does. But they were looking for they thought I had bad things on them because they knew how bad they were.
So was it a conspiracy?
If they weren't bad, they wouldn't have known that.
Do you expect there will be charges that there was a conspiracy against you?
I don't know about charges. You know, I'm allowed to be involved in this. I'm the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. You know that, right? A lot of people say, oh, he's the president. He should. No, I'm the chief law enforcement. I'm allowed to be involved in it, but I haven't chosen to. I think Pam is doing a very good job. I think Kash is really coming onto his own. It's a field that he's very good at. I think they have some people that are very good. We're going to see what happens.
Well, it's just unbelievable that they are still trying to attack their political enemies, Liz, and everything coming out about all this surveillance. You know, Bill Haggerty joined us last week. He said this is the 3rd time this has happened to him.
I think it's incredible, and I hope Americans are offended, Maria, by this whole series of events. I mean, when I see all these people coming out to protest Donald Trump, and when I see the Democrats ginning up hatred of Donald Trump, doesn't anyone sort of step back and say, well, wait a minute, the Democrats have broken every norm, every law, I believe. I think this is illegal to be basically tapping the phones of political adversaries. When they talk about attacks on democracy, this is a massive attack on our democracy. So I hope that this, you know, there have been so many investigations into malfeasance on the part of Democrats that really have sort of not gone anywhere, not concluded with anything. Thankfully, we've had a couple of indictments now, which I think are very positive, like Jim Comey. People have to be held to account. And if Jack Smith did something illegal, he has to be held to account.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Mike, during that period under the Biden administration, we later learned that there was like 1,000 people in government that were talking with social media, telling social media to shut down posts and cancel individuals on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and they did it. They all did it. You know, Biden told them to do it. They did it.
But Maria, the corruption and overreach of the Democrats. Like, we'll never really know the full story. The only reason we know about this lady spying incident is from a whistleblower. And so you basically have three people at the top of the FBI. You have Kash, Dan Bongino, and Andrew Bailey just showed up there. And then you have this entire institutional rot and corruption. And it's only whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork showing the leadership where the bodies are buried, so to say, and putting all these things together. And just, again, take a step back. Okay, you have two of the most corrupt prosecutors in the history of our country. There have been very few criminal prosecutions ever overturned 9-0 by the Supreme Court. One of which was Andrew Weissman, who effectively ran the Mueller probe, because we now know Bob Mueller has moved on in years. Okay, and then the second one is Jack Smith. Like, these are two of the most corrupt prosecutors, specifically for being overzealous, stepping over the lines, manufacturing evidence. Okay, they sent after President Trump. That's who these people are. They are authoritarians. Everything they accuse Trump of and Trump of doing is exactly what they've done themselves. And like, it's, you know, you're surprised when these news headlines come out, but why should you be? We don't even know the half of it. And, you know, this January 6th committee was totally and completely corrupt, just like the impeachments. It all, like, I think President Trump is right. It all leads back to Obama in 2015 and 16.
Yeah, he said it. The president knew exactly how high up the ladder it went, right to Obama, President Trump told us. And yeah, it's pretty extraordinary what we're watching here. And we will continue to keep a spotlight on it.